But this is something that I want us to share ideas together and understand certain concepts as we move forward. Before we say anything, I just want to make sure I open the room for anyone. If you decide, you can please just rename you. If you need to rename yourself, go for it. And just for my sake, I would love to know how you identify based on gender, based on ethnicity. Feel free to just put that right now on your rename little title right there. I have it as an example, but it's based on comfortability. All right. And while I'm doing that, if you don't mind, I'm going to share with you what I have in store for us today. It may look like a very long agenda. I'm not married to agendas. I like to make sure that, all of us are sort of connecting in a way and assessing each other as we work together. Here we go. It's pretty long, but this is what I have in store today. I just put the agenda there. I wish I could give you a screen share, but iPad is limited on that area. Again, I'm not. Hello.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, sorry guys.
It's quite all right. Can you say your name again?
Laura.
Oh, hi, Laura. Welcome.
Thank you.
Cool. So, any questions regarding the agenda as you move forward? No thoughts? You can look at it. You can say, no, I don't feel comfortable with this, P. And by the way, you can call me P if you want. You don't have to call me by Priscilla. Most of my friends and also my colleagues call me P. All right. It's kind of a name that I inherited throughout the years in this work. All right. If you don't have anything, I would like to start off with yes, go on, please.
I have a question. Just so for the small groups of 3, we usually have folks in the same groups throughout week to week, and it's about like 3 to 5 people. Would you rather that we just keep it to 3, or is there any flexibility there?
There is flexibility. It's more about, I did it on purpose because of when it comes to certain conversations, you go from surface to very deeper. So I just want to, but I am flexible. I don't think 3 to 5 people is much of a difference, but that's my opinion. I don't know how other people feel. Some people may freak out with 5 people. They're like, oh my God, that's too much.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I just wanted to check. We'll see how people feel when we get there. Sorry.
Yeah, totally. But I'm very flexible when it comes to that. And talking about community agreements, that's one of the practices when it comes to trauma-informed practice. Before we begin this session, I want to know how you coming into the space. What's important for you in order to feel brave in the space and share your ideas. So feel free to either say it or to write it onto the chat of what you need as a community agreement for us to be able to just work together and collaborate. I'll add myself for example. I want to make sure that we can agree to disagree if necessary. That's one of my things when it comes to this kind of work. Agree to disagree. Anybody else?
Oh, Laura, can you translate the activity for?
I didn't know, but yeah, you might have to go over because I came a little bit late.
No se preocupe. ¿Quiere que lo diga en español?
Ajá.
Sí, no hay problema. ¿Con quién estoy hablando? Ismelda.
Hola.
Hola, placer, Minerva, ¿lo dije bien?
Hola.
Hola, un placer tenerlas aquí. Pues sí, estamos ahora mismo, estaba diciendo que antes de seguir hablando y trabajando juntas, me gusta hacer como un contrato de acuerdo, ¿entienden? Porque así como participantes podemos trabajar juntos en la forma que podemos trabajar. Por ejemplo, yo prefiero trabajar con personas que se sienten cómodas en hablar sobre ideas, pero al mismo tiempo están en desacuerdo de esas ideas. ¿Estamos bien con eso? Do we agree to disagree? I need a yes for this round because it's being recorded, or thumbs up. All right, beautiful. And I got a verbal yes. Thank you. I hope Hayden, right? Is that correct, Hayden? Thank you. All right. Anything else? What else do you need to feel brave in this space? ¿Qué necesitas para tener valentía en este espacio? Acceptance. All right. Can someone elaborate more about that? ¿Pueden elaborar más un poco sobre esto? Aceptación. Una persona dijo que necesita ser aceptada. Eso es bien importante cuando tiene que trabajar juntos con personas. ¿Por qué? Why is it important?
I could talk.
Sure.
Yeah, acceptance of who we are as who we represent, part of the LGBTQ plus, as ethnicity, as spiritual beliefs, just acceptance of who we are and what we would like to represent.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And someone else is going to look into the chats real quick. Someone else also added respect. I like to emphasize respect is an interesting word because respect looks different for everyone. What does respect look like to you? How do you know you're being respected? Yes.
I will say respect somebody else, like culture, like traditions, even like languages too. Yeah, more like as individual, yeah, respect like in other individuals.
Vale, muy bien. Ya acabamos de hablar sobre el respeto. Hay personas que necesitan para poder trabajar bien con uno, necesita ser respetada, sea por sus ideologías, sea por su persona, por su orientación sexual, su género o raza o etnicidad. Vale, muy bien. Thank you very much, folks. Is there anything else we need to add before we move forward? Understanding, yes. Understanding. Thank you, Stephanie. And I hear a child. Hello to the child. Hola al niño. Escuché un niño. Anything else before we add? We got understanding, we got respect, we got acceptance, we have agreed to disagree. Algo más. We can continue. Podemos continuar. Are we ready to go?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Someone, last thing to say, last thing. I'm going to read this out from Ashley. Thank you. Be brave and open about your opinions as we have all agreed to respect and agree to disagree. Well said. In other words, let's do our best to practice what we just said, what we preach, all right? And by the way, if there's any moment that you feel uncomfortable, you also have the right to say that as well, okay? So let's start off with something just to get to know each other. It's called Join Me If, okay? Join Me If. Now, naturally, voy a hacer una actividad que se llaman, ¿cómo puedo decirlo? Join Me If. Laura, va a tener que ayudarme en esto. ¿Cómo dice? No voy a decir entréguense conmigo, pero vengan conmigo. Voy a decir, vengan conmigo. Vale, vengan conmigo.
Disfrutarse, no disfrutar con otros.
Well, that's about enjoy, ¿verdad? But I don't know if people are going to be enjoying anything right now. So with that said, let's just see. It's called Join Me If, and vengan conmigo, all right? And I'm going to say a statement. We'll start off, the activity is going to start off with the cameras being off completely. So we're going to turn off our cameras. So tienen que apagar sus cámaras. Tienen que primero apagar sus cámaras. Si pueden. Ajá. Y ahora yo voy a decir una frase. I'm going to say a statement. Si usted se identifica con la frase, entonces va a prender su cámara. I'm going to say a statement. If you identify with the statement, you're going to turn your camera off. If you don't identify with the statement, you'll keep your camera completely off, all right? I'm gonna say it again in case I got anybody mixed up. I'm going to say a statement. If that statement applies to you, meaning that's me, you're going to turn on your camera. If it does not apply to you, you're going to turn it off. Díselo en español. Voy a decir una frase, si usted identifica con esa frase, dice, sí, esa soy yo, tiene que prender su cámara. Y si no identifica con la frase, entonces tiene que mantener la cámara apagada. Let's start with the first one. Is a reaction okay? I'm open to it. Normally, I prefer to see everyone's faces, but I also respect that maybe, folks are not feeling well, all right? Here we go. I hope that's okay. Does that make sense? Allison, are you cool with that? Let me get a reaction. Yeah, got you. Beautiful. Let's begin. Join me if. Vengan conmigo si. you have a favorite season. Tienes una estación favorita. Join me if you have a favorite season. Si tiene una estación favorita. All right. Can we hear some of these seasons real quick? ¿Cuáles son estas estaciones que le encantan? Right here, Ashley.
I absolutely love everything to do with fall.
Okay. Got a couple of fall people. Yes, Kayla. Did I say that right? Kayla or Kyla? How do you say that?
It's Kayla.
Okay, good. Kayla.
I'll second what Ashley said.
All
It's
right.
pretty.
Nice. Chloe?
I like spring.
Okay. All right. We got a couple of summer people, right? Jillian, Aaron, spring. Danielle, fall. Jane's summer. See, Dan, right?
Yeah. I gotta go with winter.
Okay. All right. All right. Fierce. Anybody else? Did we miss anybody else? We're good? All right. I'm a fall person también. A mí me encanta el otoño también. Okay. No sé si Minerva entendió la frase. ¿Tiene una estación favorita o no? Es Minerva.
Yes, primavera.
Ah, primavera, vale, spring. Okay. Okay, muy bien. Here we go. Ready for the next one? All right, let's turn our cameras off. Join me if you have a favorite hobby. Vengan conmigo si tiene un hobby favorito. All right. All right. Who can get out some of these hobbies that you have? What are some of these hobbies? ¿Qué son los hobbies de ustedes? I missed it, Ashley. Did you say something?
Photography.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Yes, Danielle.
Sewing.
You said sewing or bowing?
Sewing.
Oh, okay. All right, sewing. Thank you. Go for it. Kayla.
I paint my nails for funsies.
Okay. Are you very creative with it?
No, it helps me de-stress.
I hear that. I hear that. I'm gonna catch some folks on the chat. Being outdoors and making art. Thank you very much, Jillian. Laura, soccer. I love soccer too. Painting. What kind of painting we talking about, Aiden? Oil paintings. I don't know. You tell me. You could write it down if you want.
I like acrylic.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say that, but I did not want to assume. Here we go. We got creative writers here as well. Awesome. Singing. Rachel, should we expect you to sing for us at the end of this session? Just kidding. Just kidding. All right. And fishing. Now, I have respect for fisher people, man. That takes a lot of patience. Takes a lot of patience. All right. Here we go. Vamos a comenzar con Laura, I didn't hear you. You might tiene un hobby. Do you have a hobby, Laura?
Yeah, I actually wrote down soccer.
Oh, you wrote down soccer. Sorry, I didn't see the
I
name. All right, cool. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's go for the next. We're gonna do a couple of more just to continue getting to know each other. All right. Let's turn off our cameras. Vamos a apagar nuestras cámaras. Join me if you have siblings. Vengan conmigo si tienen hermanos o hermanas. Join me if you have siblings. All right. Now, just by a show of hands, show me how many siblings you have. If you have siblings, si tienen hermanos o hermanas. How many siblings? Some people can write it down. No sad face reaction, but thank you for sharing. Allison, you say you have 2 younger brothers. Got it. All right, great. Do we have any single children here? Any single children here? Just want to make sure their voices are heard. Right here. Sally, is that how you say your name?
It's Kaylee.
Kaylee, I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that. Kaylee, single child?
Yeah.
Do you have folks that you consider as brothers and sisters?
No.
No, it's your experience. That's fine. But thank you for sharing. Thank you very much, Kaylee, right?
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you. Here we go. Here's another one. Let's go down. Let's turn off our cameras. as we move forward, mientras estamos mintiendo esta frase, las frases se van a poner más profundas. The statements are going to become more profound, all right? Here we go. Join me if there were more than 50 books in your household while growing up. Vengan conmigo si en su hogar tenían más de 50 libros en sus casas que en su crianza. All right. I want you to notice this, notice it very well right now. That's not everybody. That should say something. Okay. Do I have my camera on?
No.
No, that should say something. All right, just take that. I want you to take that in, okay? Thank you, Ashley, for sharing your half brother. Appreciate it. Here we go. Let's continue. Let's move forward, right? Let's turn our cameras off. This one, I want you to share, again, if you feel comfortable and you're open to sharing this, you may do so. Si, la próxima frase va a ser un poco más profunda, quizá un poco personal. Y nada más quiero que se identifique si se sienten cómodo o cómoda. Here we go. Join me if you were ever uncomfortable about a joke or statement you overheard related to your race, ethnicity, gender, appearance, or sexual orientation, but felt unsafe to confront the situation. Voy a decirlo en español. Vengan conmigo si ha habido un momento en su vida que se han sentido incómoda por un chiste o una frase que usted ha escuchado que es referente a su raza, su etnicidad, su género o su orientación sexual o religión. Pueden prender su cámara si se identifica con eso. Okay. All right. Muchas gracias. Thank you for being valiant and showing your faces. I appreciate that. Or for those who've written, thank you very much. Just want to take note. All right. And then last two, we're going to have two more, right? Turn off your cameras. Join me if you believe in second chances. Vengan conmigo si ustedes creen en las segundas oportunidades. If you believe in second chances. Thank you. All right. How are we doing, folks? We're doing all right? Okay. Let's move forward to the last one. La última. Join me if you consider yourself a leader. Vengan conmigo si usted se considera un líder. Si usted se considera un líder, if you consider yourself a leader, join me. Cool. Quick question. What is a leader? ¿Qué es un líder? Go for it, Kaylee.
I think a leader is somebody who helps guide people on the right path.
Okay. Laura, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, like a leader is somebody who actually supports others, and also who takes like direction to drive all the people to the same point.
Okay, thank you. Kelly acaba de decir que un líder, ella piensa que un líder es una persona que ayuda a guiar a las personas a pasos buenos. Laura acabó de decir que, yo no quiero hablar por ti, Laura, pero lo voy a decir y si lo dije mal, corrígeme, all right? Laura acabó de decir que ella piensa que los líderes son personas que apoyan a las personas. She said more than that. I'm trying to remember. Laura, what else you said? It's being transparent right now.
Dije que también es, se me olvidó.
No se preocupe.
Una persona que toca direcciones a otras.
Sí, que llevan las personas por
quien
direcciones.
sí, direcciona también a las personas a un mismo punto.
A un mismo punto, vale. Muy bien, Raquel. I didn't know that you speak Spanish. Okay. You had in your tools. She had it. Now y'all know that you speak Spanish. Vale, muy bien. Excelente. Thank you, everyone. Give yourselves a hand. Thank you very much. Thank you for participating. Being mindful of time real quick, because I know we have a lot to do. So I might jump some things that I had planned out. But before I move forward, I want to just check in. What are your impressions regarding this activity? Is this an activity that you're familiar with? Please. Sorry, I was reading a chat. Go on. Are you familiar with this activity? Yes or no? No. Some people are. What are your impressions about this, about the experience as you were playing this activity, as you were participating? Your impressions. ¿Cuáles son sus impresiones mientras estaba jugando y participando en esta actividad? Ashley.
Yeah, I've done this activity, like the one where you take a few steps forward, that kind of thing. And then I've done this activity too, where you step into the circle and back out to meet everybody else. And it's funny because this had the same impact on me. Usually when you can visually see it, it like hits you a little harder. But because I've been over Zoom for so long, I feel like just doing this activity in that way was a great use of it, because I've been tutoring people and it's really hard to figure out activities to do. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I've always loved this activity because you get to know people, but you also get to know them on a deeper level than just like surface, which favorite color, which favorite season, all that kind of stuff. So I appreciated that, but he also didn't push us into an uncomfortable level.
Thank you for sharing, Ashley. I'm going to quickly translate. And Laura, you be my checker, all right? Real quick. If you don't mind, Laura, by the way, because I'm not even like giving you money. I should be paying her for this part. She's collaborating with me. Not even ask her. Here we go. Really quick. Well, Ashley, thank you for sharing that. Ashley acabó de decir que ya bien familiarizada con esta actividad. Es una actividad que normalmente se trabaja de una forma física con dos líneas, que la gente se salen para fuera de la línea, se identifica con la frase. Pero ella ha notado que hasta haciéndolo en esta forma virtual por computadora, todavía los mismos sentimientos tienden a levantarse dependiendo de la frase que se están diciendo. So, supongo que lo siento un poco a lo, I guess you would say it was sort of, you've normalized it because you've been on Zoom for so long. So ya se ha normalizado la actividad. At the same time, ella también admitió que la frase en que se ha dicho, ella nota que son frases que pueden ser bien livianas, que se identifica la forma a superficie, y entonces llegamos conociéndonos más para conocernos profundamente. That was very long, but that's basically what was said. Thank you very much, Ashley. Anybody else? ¿Quién más? Impressions about your experience with this activity? Let me check the chat real quick in case someone says something. All right. Were there moments that you felt emotions rising out as you were listening to the statements? Aiden, can you tell, without sharing too much, I want you to share based on your comfortability, but can you tell us, what did that feel like to you?
When you brought up like the one question in regards to like feeling uncomfortable in a situation, it just brought up like a whole bunch of things that have like happened in the past, and like a lot of it was around being LGBTQ, and it's rough and it's not always easy, and people can be really mean and hurtful and malicious. So it was kind of like a quick flashback to kind of that entire all these situations that have happened. It was like a fast little thing, kind of sucked, but it's good to know that like you're not alone, right? And seeing other people as well, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one that has felt really uncomfortable in certain situations. Kind of makes me feel better in a horrible way, and I'm sorry, everybody.
This is not you don't need to apologize here. Just be. That's all. That's the only thing I'm gonna ask. I forgot to put that into the agreement, folks. Just be. So thank you very much, Aiden. All right. Aiden acabó de compartir con nosotros la importancia de la valentía. Una de las frases sobre la incomodidad de tener que escuchar un chiste o una frase que perjudica a tu persona, sea por tu orientación sexual, en el caso de él, o tu religión, tu etnicidad, son cosas que traen sentimientos bien fuertes. Y eso obviamente lo afectó. No sabemos a qué grado, pero sin embargo la afectación lo hizo pensar en esos momentos rápidamente, pero también al mismo tiempo pudo ver que él no estaba solo en eso, que hay otras personas que están pasando por lo mismo. All right, thank you. Someone's going to say, ¿alguien va a decir algo? Someone else is going to say something? So what would you say is, as participants or as if you were a facilitator, this can be either or, it doesn't matter. What do you think is the purpose of doing an activity like this, especially at the top of a session? I would say it in Spanish. ¿Qué era el propósito de hacer una actividad así? El objetivo. Laura.
I will say to know each other, and also like I think so an important thing about like this exercise is to recognize what people has been through, and experiencing like bad moments, rough, and also a bunch of well, not negative, but a bunch of things that actually can just like come back in certain time when, for example, when you ask us like it's just like flashbacks, I will say, like memory.
Thank you, Laura. So I see your hand, Josh. Thank you. Laura was just basically saying something similar. Estaba diciendo algo similar a lo que estaba diciendo Eren, que era para poder la civilidad y la diferencia de los caminos que hemos pasado, conocernos más con este tipo de actividad. Josh, you wanted to say something? Because I see your hand up.
Hey, folks. That was actually a mistake, but I'll go, go ahead in an event. I think that it also acts, as an icebreaker, and also for us to be aware that one, we might not be alone in certain experiences or things that we identify or associate with, and also two, just so that sometimes it's easier to talk when you see that others are talking and others are coming forth and sharing their experiences. It kind of makes it a little bit easier. And so, sorry for coming late, but I think for me, from my personal experience, that's what makes me feel comfortable and make me feel a little bit better with respect to that session and having it early on in the session.
Thank you, Josh. Muchas gracias, Josh. Yo acabo de decir también algo similar, que es importante para uno poder hablar sobre temas que son importantes. Este tipo de actividad ayuda a la persona a sentirse más cómoda, más valiente si ve que hay otras personas que han pasado lo mismo como ellos. I'm going to read right now a chat real quick by Jane. If you don't mind me reading it, it says, as a facilitator who may not know the group you are working with, you can briefly analyze the group you are now working with before you begin. You can gauge, don't do that. You can gauge the dynamics of the space before you begin facilitating. Thank you very much. That's actually right. That's very well. Como facilitador también, una forma de nosotros conocer nuestra audiencia, nuestros participantes para poder hablar con ellos. Es una forma de analizar los participantes también. O la comunidad en sí, the community. So now let me ask you a question as we move forward to the next activity. How do you know when you're being listened to? ¿Cómo tú sabes que cuando una persona te está escuchando? Maybe you don't have to tell me right now. I want you to meditate on it as we break you off into groups. All right. And the first group that we're going to do, I want you to, one of them said eye contact. All right. Interaction. Let's see. We'll talk about it further, but I want you to meditate as you discuss with your group right now. We're going to break you guys into groups of, you feel comfortable, Rachel, with groups of 3 or 5, whatever is easier for you.
Oh, we can do groups of 3. That's fine.
Okay, folks. So the first question I'm gonna put up, when it comes to food or family tradition, I want you to share that with your partners. All right, we're gonna give you about 3 minutes for each statement. But the first statement is gonna be about you sharing something about where you're from, food or family tradition that's significant of your culture community. Before you go, I'm going to just put it on the chat so you can see it better. All right, give me 1 second. Sorry if I hurt somebody's ear doing that. Discúlpeme. As a matter of fact, yeah, all right. I'm gonna do that right now. Just give me 1 second. So much easier when you have a desktop working. Here we go. Food or family tradition significant of your culture or community. That's what we want you to discuss in the next 3 minutes. So you can go. Rachel, if you can break them into groups of 3. Thank you.
Absolutely. It only has 1 room here, sorry. There we go, sorry.
Cool, no worries, no worries. Go right ahead, folks. We'll bring you right back. Hey. How are you doing? Let's put in the timer right now real quick.
Yeah. I'm gonna pause this. Now we got everybody.
Awesome. Todo el mundo está aquí. Vale, muy bien. So, real quick, ¿qué descubrimos? ¿Qué descubrimos? What are some of these family traditions and foods? ¿Qué son estas tradiciones familiares, comidas tradicionales de su etnicidad o su cultura? Who would like to share? ¿Quién quiere comenzar? Compartir.
I can go.
Go for it.
My papa's from Slovenia. He left during World War II and came to Canada with his siblings. So was 12 of them when they came. And then when I was growing up, I super loved hearing his stories about where he grew up and all that kind of stuff. He grew up in the main capital, Ljubljana. But every birthday I would ask him to make me like goulash with spatzel or chicken paprikash, just to be closer to him. So that's something that I do.
Thank you, Allison, for sharing with us. Folks are starting to get me hungry already. Anything else? ¿Quién más quiere compartir su cultura?
Los tacos mexicanos.
Arre, ¿quién lo dijo? Minerva, ¿fuiste tú? Oh, no, ¿quién fue Minerva o Ismelda? ¿Quién lo dijo?
Yo, Minerva.
Minerva. Dime, ¿cuáles son sus tacos famosos? ¿De qué tipo de taco hace? What kind of tacos you make?
De lo que quieran, hay de taco de res, también de puerco, también de pollo. Las tortillitas son pequeñas y bueno, se sirven con guacamole que no pica y salsa al gusto, tipos de salsa verde, roja, de la que quieran. Y si quieren igual picante, no picante y verdura, igual el que quiera, le decimos repollo o cilantro, cebollita. Hay quien quiere chile igual bien picadito, finito. Bueno, ya eso todo es al gusto.
Todo al gusto. I like mine hot, with plenty of meat. Pollo, carajo. Ponle chile ahí. That's mine. Thank you. Gracias, Minerva. Bien riquísimo. Exactamente, Julia. Bien riquísimo. Arre, muy bien. Okay. Anybody else before we move forward? Corn soup. Oh, yeah. Thick corn soup. Yes. Jasmine, yes.
So my mom is from Chile. And my grandma makes this bread called pan amasado, and it's really good. And we have it with this thing called pebre, which is just like a pico de gallo with a lot of cilantro.
Oh man, that's good. That's real good. Oh yeah, I heard pastillo. Is that right? Pastillo.
Yeah, pastillo.
And pastillo. And I heard empanadas. I saw them empanadas and some other stuff. I saw Nana's thumbprints. Now that's interesting. I don't know what that looks like. Huh?
Tamales.
Yes. Tamales, yes, actually tamales. Muy bien. So let's go. Thank you folks for sharing community culture here. So going back to my question, you were talking to each other. I'm sure you were maybe meditating what I just asked. Question goes again. Some people mentioned it. They said they know by eye contact, they know by interaction, but I want us to go even more specific, more detailed. How do you know when someone is listening to you? ¿Cómo tú sabes que una persona te está escuchando? No, I said listen, not hear. Is there a difference? What's the difference between hearing and listening? ¿Qué es la diferencia entre escuchar y oír? Dan.
Listen.
I think when they're like really listening to what you're saying, they're reacting to it as well. So like you can tell through like facial expressions and stuff when they're just by how they're reacting to what you're saying.
Gotcha. Thank you. Anybody else? ¿Cómo sabes que una persona te está escuchando? How do you know? Ismila, ¿te iba a decir algo? No? Okay. Stephanie, you were going to say something, yes.
Oh, yeah. I just think listening is more like they trying to understand what you're really trying to express. But here it's just like they may not really listen to what you say. They still stick with it, what they think about, even though that they may have interaction with you, but they still stick with their opinion. They don't accept whatever you say. But listening is they trying to put themselves into your shoe to understand.
Okay, thank you. Kaylee, yes.
That's interesting. I have the opposite connotations, but the same meaning for the different words. So listening.
You could tell us more about that.
So for me, listening is when people have a basic surface level of what you've said, but hearing is when they understand the experience and there's like a vibe that you get, and the conversation is like elevated.
Is that when someone tells you, I hear you? Like you guys talking about something very deep and you get your friend tells you, I hear you. I hear you. I think that's what that's what I felt you were meaning by that. And I hear that. See, I'm throwing it right back at you. I can see that, definitely. Now, how do we listen though? ¿Cómo escuchamos? This might sound like an obvious question, but I'm not sure it is. I challenge that. Yes, Ashley.
I think a lot of us, like, we can notice here that we physically interact, like we nod at you, or we are participating in whatever you're asking us to. So I think interaction is a huge portion, whether it's speaking or physical, of listening.
Okay, so we're looking at body language. We're using our visual, right? Our visual skills to see. Yes, Kaylee, yes.
When I'm listening to somebody, like I'm thinking about what they've said actively.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Let me ask you a question as we're moving forward to the next one. When it comes to communication, what's the most dominant form of communication people tend to do? Kayla.
I think right now it's more texting is a very large form of communication for most of us. Like a lot of us don't call our friends. We don't do much of that. A lot of it is, I'm going to send you a meme and I hope you like it. Like, I think that's kind of where communication stands right now.
Interesting. Thank you. Allison is saying something. Let me hear Allison real quick. I find that body language is a huge communicator. Well, it's funny you say that, Allison, because that's actually the most. By popular demand, you're right, Kayla, it's text messaging. The unconscious, though, one is definitely body language. that could be about 65 to 70% right now. The smallest mannerism that you're doing right now is communicating or addressing something. Una de las formas más prominentes de comunicación que el ser humano tiene es la comunicación del cuerpo. Es una comunicación que no considerada, no es verbal, ¿sabes? Una cosa que se dice sin tener que decir palabra. So if you're talking to somebody, they'll be like, what are you seeing from this? What are they telling you? Si están así and you're talking to them.
No attention at all.
What else are they saying?
I don't
No
care.
attention. I don't care. Closed off and not reciprocating. And that's just obvious. You're not even looking at my feet yet. All right. It's a lo obvio. So as we're moving forward, how about you guys know the term triggered? When a person is being triggered. En español es una palabra que no encuentro muy fuerte, puedo decir más estimulada, y es una estimulación negativa, triggered, right? How do you know when a person's being triggered? What does that look like?
When maybe like you, sorry, I didn't put my hand on.
No, you don't have to, it's all right.
When actually you like say something, like maybe like you didn't mean that, but maybe you said something like spit it out and that person can't get like hurt or like, you know, like really sad by what you said.
They'll get upset.
Yeah,
there's a moment of being upset.
Angry.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Angry. Okay, thank you. There's emotions involved. Jillian, thank you for sharing that. She was going back to my body language stated what you have to say is not important to me. Could that trigger someone? Yeah.
What the body? Yeah, of course.
Can body language trigger?
100%.
All right. So I tell you what. Right now we're going to present to you a video because I want to be mindful. I know some folks have to leave at 5. Vamos a enseñarle, presentarle un video porque sé que algunas personas tienen que irse a las 5. And I want you to basically assess for yourself if any of these characters are being triggered or if one person is being triggered and how are they showing that. I'm going to put it onto the chat so that way Rachel can just put it. By the way, you may see the name of my organization. However, I will say right now, I am not promoting them. This is just for sharing educational purposes, just so you know. All right. Thank you very much. So Rachel, if you could just show that link for everyone, I appreciate it. It's about 4 minutes, folks. We'll come back. Sorry, that's the wrong one. I apologize for that. I gave you the wrong one. Padre Santo, what's wrong, Priscilla? Give me 1 second. Sorry.
All good.
I'm over. Yeah. And folks, I want to thank you so much for your patience. We live in some interesting times. So it's important to be gentle with each other, compassionate. All right, here you go, YouTube.
Loading.
Oh, there you are. Sorry, it was show on sushi, and what was cool was it was like a Spanish person who's doing sushi. Hey, good morning. We probably made it all saucy up, that sushi. I've been to a couple of places like that. You know, Mexicans be doing sushi. Dominicans are doing sushi too. Yeah, seriously. That's right. Good morning. Oh, hey, Drina. Hey, you want to talk about the new sushi spot? Yeah, we just talk. We'll talk about it later, though. No problem. The reason I brought you here, by the way, and I'm gonna thank you for just dropping in quickly because it's pretty time sensitive, is that we just got invited to be the Change.org conference. Like, this is big for us, you know. This is an important partnership that we want to create with them, and just being invited is good because first of all, it's virtual, so we don't have to worry about that. But Amber and I were talking about who's the best person to go. So we thought about you. We decided you're the best person to go, right, Amber?
No, that was definitely it. Just especially because it's virtual, and family. You don't have to leave your family, so it just felt perfect for you to go and attend.
So you all have already talked a little bit about the conference. When did you find out?
Like not too long ago, actually, just a couple of days last week, around Wednesday, we found out. So we just started talking, but things been crazy into the last, with the elections and everything. But yeah, so we thought you're the best person to go. I mean, I could send Amber, but it's about representation, Trina. That's what I wanted to say. It's about representation, and they work specifically. They can help us work with our LGBTQ youth, especially those that are disenfranchised, those that predominantly, Black and Latinx LGBTQ. They're the highest number of displaced and homeless and stuff.
So yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that and wondering maybe if another person who would be a good fit to go might be the representative that just began the programming for LGBT youth in our youth theater department.
It just started though. No, Trina, they just started. We can't do that to them. That wouldn't be right. But you've been with us. We trust you. You mentioned you want growth opportunities. This is it. You just talk to people, let them know who we are, represent. And we might get some funding for this.
You could also bring it back. I mean, that's also in terms of like a professional growth. Like you could turnkey it, right?
Yeah, turnkey. That's the word. Yeah, just give it right back to the community. But yeah, so she's gonna take care of that, right, Amber? You got the forms. You started filling out the form for you. Amber's gonna send it out. You were gonna say something? I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about, you were saying the right person to go and representation, and this is reminding me, Amber, a few years ago when we did a very similar conference not with BeTheChange.org, but with another organization, and how
that's great. That's great, Trina. Trina, that's wonderful. But the thing is, only one person that can go. So I hear you. That you want to bring Trina, you want to bring Amber in, but we don't have the time. And actually, I have to go to a meeting. But like I said, this is a growth opportunity. I really trust you can do this, and I just want to thank you for jumping on board and saying yay.
My pleasure. Just last question: will the time be compensated, given that this is going to be in addition to the workload and some skills that I'm going to be refamiliarizing?
I can try to entertain that question. We'll explore and see. I can't make any guarantees. We're on a tight budget. That's why we're trying to create more partnerships, and Be the Change is one of those people that can help us. But like I said, don't worry. We're paying for the training itself anyway, for the conference. So just think about this again. It's a growth opportunity. And yeah, I gotta go. Again, thank you so much, Trina. Amber, we'll talk later about the sushi. You let me know. Okay, bye.
Thanks, Stephanie. That was quick. Okay.
I really need to go and fill in the paperwork. Okay.
I thought I might ask a few more questions.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
No problem.
Okay. So, folks, we just met 3 characters, right? Who are the 3 characters? ¿Quién son los 3 personajes que hemos conocido? Los nombres, what are their names?
Amber, Stephanie, and Trina. Is it Trini or Trina?
Trina.
Trina.
All right. Just to make sure, I know was there some audio issue? Did everyone was able to see the video, or did you have trouble looking at the video?
I have trouble listening to the video because there were too many mumbling, kind of the sound wasn't very clear though.
All right, good. How many people experienced that? Just by a show of hands. You had some. Okay, please, then you tell us that. All right, it's important to tell us that. All right, because then I won't know how far I can go. So yes, so we got Trina, Amber, and Stephanie. For those who did see it or were able to see most of it, what do you think the relationship was between these three characters? ¿Qué era la relación entre las tres? Yes, Kayla.
It was laggy, so I'm guessing. I think Trina was someone who was under the other two characters in the sense of like job structures. So she would have been someone who was brought in by someone else, so she's not as important to make decisions in a sense, like in the job hierarchy like system.
Okay, thank you. Aiden, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it was like the two characters seemed a lot more connected and didn't really, in a sense, like care for the other character and kind of just told her what she needed to do and left. So it shows kind of, in a way, like lack of respect as well.
Did everyone see that? Those who were able to see it? Did you see that? That she was like put to the side? Trina, that is? What do you think is the issue in this scene? Sí, Laura.
I will say not having the opportunity to just like disagree or like, you know, like have like a opinion at all.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Jane.
I think there was a lack of care between the two characters towards Trina, because even when she tried to put in her opinion and what she thought about this, like she was cut off and like said that what she was saying like wasn't what they were focusing on right then and there. So there wasn't really a care on what she thought about it. Like this was the plan, whether she agreed or not.
Gotcha. Do you think she felt this? If there ever a moment, so maybe I want to ask this question differently. Was there ever a moment that she felt heard? No.
I don't believe so.
Yes. Who was speaking? Someone spoke.
Oh, sorry, that was me.
Aiden, yes.
I was
Sí,
just
por
saying,
favor.
like she most definitely like wasn't.
Okay.
I would
Yes,
argue
Ashley.
that they were trying to make it seem as though she was being heard, because they were like, you have something to say, she would say it, and then they would just be like, okay, no, moving on. So she was heard in a sense, but it wasn't she wasn't included, is what I would say.
She wasn't. So how do you think by the end of that meeting, al final de esa reunión, how did you think Trina was feeling? Kayla and Laura. Al final, vamos a ir en Spanish. Al final de la escena, ¿cómo estaba Trina? ¿Cómo se sentía? Go on, Kayla.
I would assume, because I've been in a situation like that where she felt extremely overwhelmed. Because I caught the part where she mentioned that I already have a really large workload, like it's just getting compensated for time. So that in a sense would trigger myself, knowing that now there's another thing I have to do. When am I going to find the time? So I assume she felt extremely overwhelmed.
Okay. Any other emotions she was feeling besides overwhelmed? ¿Sentía algo ya más que exhausta con tantos problemas o tantas cosas de hacer? Aiden, yes.
She could have felt a little frustrated because every time that she spoke up, they like totally shut her down, and like right away they pretty much just like shoved whatever she said to the side, and then at the end of it they just like were like, okay, bye, and didn't really give her time to ask her questions or anything that she had.
Thank you. Laura, I missed you. Go on.
I will say at the end, when they actually were like, I think so I heard something about like eating sushi, whatever, like plans, but like two of them, and they were like excluding like the other girl, and then after like one hang up just like disconnected right away, and the other one too, and she was going to say something, but just like they just left.
And I'm gonna go, thank you so much, Laura. And I'm gonna go further. So entonces vemos este personaje, right? We hear that she is feeling shut down. Vemos que ella se siente, no solamente la silenciaron a ella, no le pidieron su opinión, they didn't ask her for her opinion. They made a decision without even consulting her, right? Kate, I think it's interesting that you mentioned that, you know, you feel that she's, what you may call it, she's sort of in a lower rank position. And I go like this because that's questionable, right? If we were to go deeper into this scene, we would hot seat this character to get to know them more, and you would find out that actually Amber are in the same position, you know, which is another interesting conversation, right? Why is one person being asked to do something more beyond her title, you know? Was there ever a moment, actually you guys answered this, you already answered that, I'm not gonna ask that question. You answered that she didn't have a chance to voice her disagreement or concern. What do you think could have been different? What could have been different in that situation to share a form of concern for Trina if she had an issue with just going to this event? How could it, let me ask that question again. How could that scene have played out differently? Jane.
I think that asking Trina if she wanted to go rather than telling her she has to go might be, it could have played out differently, like asking if she's okay with going and like if she has any concerns with going, because then you're taking her feelings into consideration, not just like the original decision maker's feelings.
Thank you. Anybody else? What else could have happened that would have been different? Nothing? That's it? Just ask her if she wants to do it or not? Laura.
I feel like they should like you know, like talk to her first and like to make, well, no plans, but just have like decisions, like give her the chance to speak loud and also like, you know, like actually communicate, because it's communication is part of that, like knowing like somebody's likes or dislikes, and even like getting involved with with the conversation, or the environment even.
No, environment. Well, that's interesting you say that. Environment, and I heard communication, just asking likes and dislikes. Now, you might be asking yourself, and maybe not, what does this scene in any way relate to trauma-informed practice? I don't know, I'm putting it out there, does it? Esta escena tiene que ver con prácticas de información traumática. That's a big word, I have to say. I personally, I'm gonna be honest with you. The word itself, trauma-informed practicing, is triggering to me. It's very triggering because I'm like, hold up, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a drama therapist. I'm not a clinician, psychologist. What is this? What could this scene have to do with that? Well, let's just break down trauma first, right? One thing, we identify that trigger can be, and actually Laura kind of hit it. Trigger is just an emotion that can be negative. It can be caused by some type of outside stimulant, ¿verdad? Una persona que se triggered o estimulada de una forma negativa puede ser por una ocasión de un evento, can be an outside event. It could be a person, right? I'm going to put it right here. And you can find the source. I'll probably put the source myself if I can. I just want to make sure you see it. And that's usually caused by something or someone is understanding. And you can check, if you want to check Webster's, you can go right ahead and check Webster, or you can check another source that you feel more, not just confident, but that you trust more, right? That's what trigger means as a verb, right? But what is trauma? How does triggering relate to trauma? Does it relate to trauma? ¿Qué es trauma? What's trauma? Laura.
So basically, I just want to just add like something like really hit me like with trauma. I had like a really bad experiences back home. And yeah, the psychologist like diagnosed me like with PTSD, which means yeah, like post trauma after like certain like circumstances or events like actually affect your life, and those things can be like as which you said, like environment, people, when somebody like just by the fact or like saying something offensive or just like looking at you like yeah, really weird, that can actually cause you like not just like physically but also mentally really yeah issues.
Emotionally, yes. Emocionalmente, sí. Trauma goes in many levels, and thank you for breaking it down, Laura. Trauma can hit us emotionally, physically, psychologically, and I just said events. I just said people. How is trauma also? How does trauma also affect people besides events, besides people? What are other ways people are traumatized? Kayla.
I think environment is also a big one. Like returning back to the place where the trauma happened is a big trigger for a lot of people.
Thank
Sounds.
you. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Yasmin.
There's also intergenerational trauma, like trauma that hasn't like directly affected you personally, but may have affected your ancestors or your parents.
Thank you. Kaylee. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Kaylee. It's all right. I forget all the time too.
And the activity that you were doing when the trauma happened. So if you were in a car driving would cause that trauma to be triggered.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? I could add more right now. I'm going to put some more on, just some more on the chat that I wish I could like give you a whole visual screening, but yes, I must change with the times. Someone's going to say something? No, not from my iPad. It's much harder.
Oh.
But these are what all types of trauma that you see the question parentheses whiteboard is I meant to put this on a whiteboard. You see in part of my genius, I guess. But these are all forms of trauma, right? We got abuse, neglect, domestic violence, mental illness, drug and alcohol abuse, right? In the family, discrimination regarding race, nationality, religion, gender. I mean, we could go on, right? Events, accidents, natural disasters, pandemic, death, loss of a job or home. So in essence, raise your hand if you identify with 2 of these forms of trauma. Levante la mano si identifica con 2 de esos traumas. Raise your hand if you identify with 2 or more of those traumas. In essence, everyone here has experienced a form of trauma. And either we've dealt with it or not dealt with it. It depends on our access, our resources, depende de la habilidad de los recursos que tenemos, ¿verdad? So the question is, how are we able to work with people, I mean, that's the job itself, right? How can we, whether it's as a facilitator, whether you're working, I don't know, at McDonald's, whether you're a teacher, everyone here serves people, and you're serving people that have gone through traumatic experiences. And that could be a moment when they're having a bad day and they're asking you for a service and they give you an attitude. And you don't understand why they gave you an attitude. So my normal reaction would be what? If someone gives me an attitude, what would I do, you think? What do you think Priscilla would do? Si una persona me da una actitud, ¿cómo tú crees que yo voy a comportarme? Let's be honest. Somebody gives you a bad attitude. What?
Is it clap back?
Talk back, yeah. Ashley, you were going to say something.
I actually used to work at McDonald's. So the people that would come in and, not a fun time to work at McDonald's. So don't come in and give me a bad day because you're going to get the worst side of me possible back. I would not put in effort to make your experience any better or to turn around your day. Whereas if you're nice to me, you will get the very happy, glowy, have a great day me. So you're going to affect the environment around you.
Now, that's interesting you say that. That's interesting. So a person that works for McDonald's is having a bad day. And I'm not saying this is you, Ashley. I'm giving an example, right? Another client comes in and they're having a bad day too. They say, yeah, I want this. No, don't put the onions on there. You're deaf? Are you deaf? You're having a bad day already with this person. Now, technically, as the service provider, who's the service provider? Is it the client or is it the McDonald's representative, the cashier? This is the service provider. So how do we provide, because in the end, trauma-informed practice, and I'm cutting on time because it's 5:15, but I want us to start thinking about trauma-informed practice like this. It's like hospitality. It's compassion. It's listening. It's constant assessing. It's asking questions without being intrusive, right? So it's not black and white. It's a work in progress. Even now, as I'm talking right now, I have to remind myself, Priscilla, you have to translate again because you may be missing folks. So it's a constantly work in process. Estoy diciendo la práctica para poder trabajar efectivamente con personas traumatizadas. Y en este sentido digo que todo aquí en una forma hemos sido traumatizadas. We carry long-term and short-term traumas. That when you walk in a space or you walk into a room or you meet someone might trigger you and that might affect your day. Eso puede afectar tu día, sea donde tu camino, quien tú conoces. The problem is, not the problem, it's more like the challenge is that here I am as a facilitator with my own stuff. And here is my collective, my participants, and I don't want to say my participants, the collective itself, the community I'm required to work with their own trauma. How do I practice? What steps do I need or do I have to work on to be able to provide what they call trauma-informed practice? How does that look like? What do you think that looks like in your experience working with people? Trabajar con las personas. ¿Qué significa eso? Que cuando tienen trauma, ¿cómo uno puede trabajar con personas con trauma? If you can't see it sometimes. How do you do it? Laura.
I mean, if you already have experienced something, you can feel more connected working with the community because there is like I will say, I don't know, like a sparkle or something that actually makes the difference on you to talk. If, I don't know, if like you have experienced like addictions and you are going to talk like with somebody who actually is like having like a really bad moment with like drugs, you can talk about your experience and how that impacted to your lives, and just, you know, like it's not going to be from like, I will say it's difficult personally when somebody tell you like, oh, it's going to be fine, and they don't have like a clue what you have experienced. So yeah, for me it's you might can get more you know, understanding, and you can connect more with people if you have experienced like a trauma.
Well, thank you, Laura, for sharing. In essence, yeah, all of us have different kinds of trauma, right? Depending on the people we work with, right? It depends on what we share too, you know, because at least in my line of work, I can't ask people personal questions. Now, if they share something personal, that's different because they have made a brave choice to share information, right? Compartir información bien personal, you know, and it took courage to do that. But if I were to ask them that, being not a clinician, right, I can't ask them that, you know, then I'm going to a place of danger, you know, where I might trigger them in a way that can be irresponsible. And for all I know, I could shut this person down. However, the opposite is said if a person voluntarily shares because they're taking a sense of ownership. They're using their own power and their own bravery to share their experience with you or with a collective of people. And in that practice, I can easily say, thank you. That took courage. I hear you. I may not understand where you've been, because that's a reality. Everybody here has experienced life differently. But something we all can agree on is that we are an expert at something. So we can share something together. So moving forward, when it comes to trauma-informed practice, I'm just going to give you guys some concepts to take with you. And folks, this definition is from the CDC, of the United States, of course. I shouldn't assume, apologies. And it has the link as well of what trauma-informed practice is by definition, right? They call it a system. Lo llaman un sistema, practicar esta forma de cuidado. Can someone read that in the chat, please? Trauma-informed practice is on the chat just now. I just put it. ¿Alguien me lo puede leer, por favor? Oh, well, if you can, apologies. If you can read it in English, that was very rude of me. I apologize. Who can read the chat? Don't rush.
Yeah, I'll do it. Trauma-informed practice, TIP. Trauma-informed practice is defined as an organizational structure and treatment framework that involves an understanding, recognizing, and responding to the effects of all types of trauma.
That's big. All that, I'll be honest with you, right now that sounded like jargon to me. How can we simplify what that means? What does that mean in essence? ¿Qué significa eso? Vamos a ponerlo en términos más común. Tell me, is the question challenging right now? You can be honest, it's fine. I prefer if you tell me, you know. How can we break this word down? You do it in your work. Think about the way you started working with your communities. The activities you started devising with them and working with them. What was the purpose?
But we all wanted to get to know each other initially. So I think that's probably step one, as we did today, to begin to understand one another.
Okay. So create activities to get to know each other. Thank you. What else? What happens when you start learning from people and about people?
I will say maybe you start to question yourself.
How so?
Like, I mean, like, going from you're not, maybe you have experienced like any like rough moment in your life. It could be like past, present, or whatever. But just knowing like you're not the only person who has been through that like moment. There's more people who actually face those like rough times, and yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Ismael, ¿iba a decir algo?
No.
I mean, no, está bien. Kayla, you said you become more empathetic. Ismelda, perdóname porque no he traducido parte de lo que hemos hablado. Estamos hablando de cómo nosotros podemos trabajar con personas que con personas con comunidades que han pasado trauma. En general, todos nosotros hemos pasado trauma, diferentes formas de trauma. Y la pregunta es, ¿qué prácticas podemos hacer para construir espacios que practica cuidado a la persona traumatizada? Alguien gente que dijo empatía. Otra persona dijo para poder conocernos más. I'm going to give you another selection and let's see if we could break this down even more. Maybe something you can take with you and you can make it into your own language. Into something that makes more sense to you individually, you know. No, don't mind the part that says group 1, group 2, group 3. That was something I was thinking as an activity, but obviously we had to have change of plans. But think about it as steps, and these steps are not necessarily in any significant order. Because, you know, just like the work of applied theater, there's no order to it. I came in to this space with something in mind to do with you. But my plans got changed by circumstances outside of my control, by the temperature of the room as I'm reading my audience and my participants. I've realized that I have to assess, this is not what they need. They're already at this level. I have to bring it up another level. That's part of trauma-informed practice. It's like you mentioned, I think was it Ashley that mentioned getting to know each other? Is that correct? That's the first thing you want to do, right? That's why I say you're doing the work without you even knowing you're doing the work. And maybe it's the title itself, trauma-informed, that's kind of like, ooh, that's kind of like, sounds heavy. And I hear you, but you are doing it because this work, applied theater itself, is having the ability to mirror life issues. That's what we do. We mirror life issues and we create communities of space to help people build community, strengthen each other, and find a common language so they can work through the issue, whether it's one issue, whether it's two issues, and be able as a collective to share ideas, practice ideas, challenge ideas. That's part of trauma-informed practice. I'm gonna go deeper, not deeper, I'm gonna go and really quickly just look at these terminologies again. Resiliency and recovery. Theater is healing. And this is Priscilla's opinion, but I believe it because this is what got me to this work. Because it allows me to mirror an issue for people that normally you don't want to relive again. But the mirror of the issue, right? Whether it's in a drama piece, a scene or a production that you have done, it allows people to sort of disconnect themselves personally from the issue and see it in another character and analyze it and critically think about it and explore the options and the issues that are interplaying in this moment, right? And then at the same time, it helps the people as a collective to make a decision, which is, we have 3 things in life in essence: choices, decisions, and consequences. Some decisions, of course, are forced on us, so that's not much of a decision. But in the space of theater, decisions are always happening. So in your practice, you're always trying to get to know your collective, your participants. More importantly, first know yourself. Who are you when you enter the space? Do you know who that is? Do you know the difference between being present and presence? Who knows the difference? What's the difference between being present and presence? ¿Qué significa ser presente y presencia? Chloe, go for it.
Being present is like being physically there, where having presence is actually being there mentally, I guess.
All right. Anybody else? Go for it, Stephanie.
Present is just like you exist and you're in the environment, but present is you trying to express yourself and get involved.
Okay. Anybody else? Who am I? When people see me, they see a woman of color, right? They might not know ethnicity was unless they share it. They'll just assume, right? And they might not know my orientation, or they might know if I come out with this, right? All these assumptions. But it's important for me to know that it's important for me to know how I come into the space, meaning I'm coming into the space as a curious student. I'm coming into the space as a service provider and not the expert. I may be the expert in guiding, but there are other experts. By being the curious student, it stops me from being afraid of asking questions that need to be asked. It stops me from being apologetic, holding guilt that's not mine. And more importantly, guilt that no one has asked me to carry. Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, please tell me. Maybe you're still thinking about it. The work that you do, in essence, is to, unless you're doing applied theater for something else, I don't know. But applied theater, in essence, as I see it, and the work I do, it is about healing, collective healing. That's what I'm interested in. That's why I work with the populations I work with, whether they're Black, underprivileged or disenfranchised or misplaced communities, or whether they're brown, or whether they're undocumented, or whether they're LGBTQ. These are the groups I'm interested in, or whether they're incarcerated or formerly incarcerated. This is the work that I've been doing for over 16 years. Why? Because I'm interested in healing. I'm interested in changing views and perspectives. I'm interested in people seeing other views. I'm interested in people seeing views and ideas and worlds together. Why? And all these things are in what I just gave you, which is what? When it comes to trauma-informed practice, you are doing resiliency and recovery. You are collaborating and empowering. No, I'm not empowering. The work is empowering, right? You're creating understanding. How does that happen? Someone just said it, empathy. That's why I asked you the question. How do you know when you're being listened to? Do they know? Do they see you listening? Dependability. That's an interesting word, but think about it as when you're community building, you're creating support groups. That's what it's also about when it comes to healing, right? Safe and stability. That can also be a triggering word, but safe for what? To feel brave, to share ideas, to talk about experiences that normally in other places you may not have. And I don't mean just you, I'm also mean the people you work with. Cultural humility and responsiveness. That's one of my favorites, and I'll tell you why. Because some folks come into our spaces, and I mean by our spaces, I'm talking about my community, thinking they're a savior. If you got the cape, I'm gonna let you know right now, put the cape right back, put it in the closet. No one's looking for a savior. No one needs a savior. If someone needs a savior, they'll let you know they need a savior, but it might not be you, so don't get offended. So if there's anything you can take from this today, it's 5:32. I see the time. I want to thank Rachel for giving me those extra few minutes. If there's anything you can take from this moment regarding trauma-informed practice, is be the curious student. Be the curious student, not the intrusive, just the one who's openly interested in humanity and knowing and wanting to know the stories and working together with cultures and learning from them, and that they learn from you. and know that the work is healing. You just have to trust the work. It's not that you're doing the healing, the work is doing the healing, and it takes time. It won't happen that same day. It might happen 10 workshops from now, or it might happen in 3. But you have to trust the process. And in the end, you are building empathy, you are building a collective, and folks are being empowered by the work. And that's all I have to say right now. Thank you very much for your time, folks. If you have any questions, I will put my, or comments, I can easily put my email for you.